Welcome to DC Fan Gives Hope. Do you know what I'm getting fed up with? Posts. People saying that, what is the cause of the DCEU's failure? Was it the studios? Was it the directors? Was it this or that? Was it rushing? Did they rush the films? Did they not spend time on standalone movies? And I'm thinking, when was it a failure? Each film made a profit. Each, probably not as much as the studio expected, but it still made a profit. And as far as rushing, well, let's look back, and probably this is addressing the Zack Snyder fans as well. I mean, I am one, as I said before. I am a Zack Snyder fan, but I'm a DC supporter first. And so Zack Snyder had this plan for an arc of a story, and when after Man of Steel, he came up with the idea of BVS. Then he planned to join that with the Justice League Part 1 and 2. Now, maybe the studio forced his hand, maybe he didn't want to do Justice League, maybe he had other ideas of where to go next, but this is what the studio wanted, and then they got an Oscar-worthy writer to do the film. So, and with so much script changing happening later, did I or any other people walk out of Justice League lost as of what happened and who the characters were? No. Did we leave Star Wars wondering what the heck was Darth Vader? What was his backstory? What was his motive? What is this Force thing? It's not understand. Did we walk out doing that? No. There are so many films that we watch that we may never ever see, and we dissect it and everything else. So for me, it was never rushed. They were telling a story, and it was a natural progression to meet characters along the way, and the way it was handled was, for me, standard. It was pretty good, so I can't say it was rushing. Was it the studio's involvement that changed things? Well, maybe the whole idea at the start was wrong. Maybe the director's idea was wrong, instead of the studio coming in and trying to change it. After all, Justice League got more of a fresh tomato. It got more YouTube people liking it. So, is it all to blame? No. So we can't say for once that these films were failures. The only failure would be those people that had other expectations of the film. That is it. That's plain and simple. But not one of them was a flop. And that's where I tire. That's where I get annoyed at. Now, of course, you've got all this news. Now we have Steven Spielberg talk about doing Black Hawk Down. Oh, by the way, I've bought my copy of the latest Suicide Squad Hell to Pay DVD. If you've seen it, let us know what you think. I've still watched it. Anyway, so we got maybe Steven Spielberg on the cast, and then then there's people. So directors, are you going to start saying that Steven Spielberg would dare not touch a product that didn't seem to be working? No, he touched a product proper because he liked it, like James Cameron, who backed Zack Snyder. The only thing these people that are concerned with, the so-called people on YouTube like myself, or on Facebook like myself, they claim to think that we can decide if a film is a failure or not, which we cannot. We can't suddenly, just because of our opinion, and Uh, that's wrong. Just because there's no news doesn't mean there's a reason to worry. We're not, to be honest, no news, and I'm going to go, is good news, sort of stuff. To be honest, we should go back. I'm saying to be honest, because I'm speaking from the heart here. We should stop trying to pickpocket any bit of news, because we will turn it and twist it into our own way and make it either into good news or bad news. So the fact that we have hardly any news on Aquaman is, for me, brilliant, and it should be the wave of new things to come. Because any sort of news for a film, whether it be a Lego trailer for the new toys of a certain movie coming out, then of course it's going to build up your expectations. You're going to look at Lego pictures and think that's in the movie and toys and stuff like that. So let's be in the dark for as long as it takes and not think too badly about it. And then there's talk about the new leader of that's taking the reins, Walter, Matt, or whatever his name is. He's new guy in charge of DC. But then I've heard news that Zack Snyder is producing most of the upcoming DC films. Whether that's a lot of poppycock, whether it lies and whatnot, who knows? But so far, this guy, the new guy in charge of the DCU, not much is mentioned about him. Am I worried? No, that's none of my business to see who's producing it. The fact the film is getting made, that is all I'm concerned about. You know, the fact that I know now that this film is getting made, Shazam's getting made, you know, for definite, that's filming, and Aquaman's finished, it's done, Wonder Woman's definitely getting made. So these are the films I should be more or less concerned about, and not in who's sort of piloting the scheme. And that way I cannot come up with any assumptions or whatever and the sort of directions we can go, and we can start saying it's a good thing, it's a bad thing. Because let's face it, that's what people are doing just now. This is what people are posting on Facebook and saying, you know, oh, it's going to be ruined now. Marvel fans are even trying to defend the Infinity War, saying cheesy comedy for the main big badass villain is a good thing. See, it's just nonsense. I'm not going to say that film's going to be, you know, a failure, because to me it'll probably be a success. But does it mean just because it makes money or makes $1 billion level, does that make it a success? No. For me, it makes it a big, huge financial success for the studios. But to me, you know, films live on after it's released in the cinema and they go to DVD. People buy it. Look what happened to Amazon with the Justice League. It went up to got 4 stars. It rated very highly, bestseller, and live on. People discover films all the time. And because it made money, can't call it a flop. But that's it. It's unfortunately because of these studios, finance is the one thing that most people are somehow concerned about. Let's make a big blockbuster movie like Rampage or anything like that, Jumanji. Let's make the special effects great, and but the story could be the weakest thing. The story could be. I've said many a times, you could I can watch the cheapest arse bad special effects movie, but as long as there's enough good story in it, I'm fine with it. You can argue to the point they spent a lot of money on special effects and still look bad. It didn't bother me. I'm not the one financing the film. I'm just concerned if I enjoy it, and I'm not judging it by special effects or anything like that. I'm judging it by the story, because I grew up with black and white movies where the special effects wasn't really, even the sci-fi black and whites, it wasn't really special for me. It was the story. But then again, at the same time, I would not want the studio to make a big loss, you know, and make huge amount of money on special effects, and then somehow it doesn't pay off. They've got to try marry the two. You know, if they've got a good story, then spend a lot of money on it. But who's to say it's a good story? And this is where the problem lies. Who's the one that's watching this film that say we've got to spend more money on this? This film is going to go crazy. Look what happened to The Great Showman. Nobody had faith in that. People thought it was going to bomb, no backing, and then the public spoke out. It's a hard one to call, really is. But it's for me, it's got nothing to do with who's... Now, here's another thing. What I've heard so far as well is the guy who's now in charge of the DCU, Walter or whatever his name is, he says he likes the Zack Snyder cut. Now, who's to say just because he likes it there's going to be a cut? You know, I mean, Justice League did sell well, so that just means that there's a lot of evidence to state that if they do release the Zack Snyder cut, that, you know, they'll make a profit. But again, there's billions of people out there that don't know anything about the Zack Snyder cut. Trust me, I went to work and I had to tell people about it. People that just go and see movies and not worry about comics and stuff like that. So the only people really that they're making this Snyder cut for really are Snyder fans. And sadly enough, that's a minority. So in order to release a Snyder cut and to get a big, you know, money back, they've got to really promote that film and everything else. But sadly, there's still a lot of people that can't let it go. Every video that they make on YouTube, every post on Facebook is about release the Snyder cut, and fans are constantly making their own versions of the film, which is taking away the discredit of all those people that made it. It's, you know, I've heard so many people now say that who is destroying the DCEU, and I've got to say it's the fans. You know, it's the fans that are greedy for news, so they can speculate and get their likes on YouTube or get their likes on their Facebook page. You know, and I mean, I run, as I say, DC Fan Gives Hope, and sometimes I'm scratching my head, what am I going to post that will get people interested and like it and pass it on? But to be honest, it's good still in a way not to have news. But and the one thing people talk about as well is they still talk about BVS. Now I love BVS, but the main argument to that is that, oh, we're still talking about it to this day. So that means that film was such a mind-burning movie. It was top of the range because nobody's talking about the Marvel films. Nobody's talking about them. They're still talking about BVS. And that's because either there's no news about the DCEU forthcoming movies, and people still are hipped up or can't move on from the film because it turned out not to be what they thought it was, and that's the damaging thing. You know, Justice League has been finished, it's been done, but still people like to drag and bring it up and bring it up and bring it up, and the arguments continue. But if you were to let it lie for a while, let people start enjoying the film for just its simplicities and everything else, then people will enjoy BVS. People will enjoy Man of Steel. You know, but it's hard. But this is for all those people out there that are defending any DC film out there, and they feel like they're alone. Listen, we all love the films. It's just that some of us just can't let things go, and we just need so surprisingly, we just need to keep on. People feel like they need to vent their letdowns of that movie and their frustration and stuff like that, and they just can't sit back and watch it and everything else. So, recently there's been images of Aquaman, things in people's pockets, and see, I try not to read too much into it, and one person says, oh, we believe we have found Superman, or mention of Superman in it, and so that's the news. Let's make a 5-minute video of that. Let's make, why are they doing that? Why is it, maybe it's just an Easter egg? Why has Zack Snyder stopped talking or showing pictures of this so-called film he shot of the Snyder Cut? And he's constantly talking about his BVS film. Is it a good thing that directors are doing this? Is it a good thing that directors are filling fans or whatnot with ideas that really we shouldn't be having? You know, should directors just leave fans to their own temper tantrums and just move on to their next movies instead of, you know, trying to explain their last one to fans that just can't move on? We must move on. We must move on to the next movie and look forward to it and love what we've got. As you know, these videos of mine are not newsworthy. They're not anything to do with the latest thing that comes out. I try it not to be. I just try to make these videos of what I'm thinking just now. I may look at something in the news reports. I may see somebody's comment on my YouTube channel, and then I'll talk about that comment. So please, if you want a wee chance for me to even talk about your comments, or your ideas and thoughts on DCU, please go to one of my videos. There's one there, DC Answers. Go to that, make a comment. I'll check all those comments and maybe make a video of that. Or it could just be this one. But please check out the page, DC Fan Gives Hope. Check out my old YouTube videos for a laugh, really. And thanks very much. Thanks very much for spending the last 17 minutes. And please, again, let me hear your frustrations and and maybe we can help each other out. Thanks very much.